Hi everyone, welcome back to Insert Past Pun here. My name's Simon. Today I've got a good one for you. It's Humboldt Lycanthrope, and I've been particularly excited about interviewing this guy ever since my chat with Shadow Son of 77. The stories we're going to be discussing are his one, Under a Rotting Sky, and also Interview with a Nullo. I'm going to put the links to both of them in the description, so please, I can't, especially Interview with a Nullo, that one blew my mind. But yeah, go ahead and read those before you get started, and then you'll know what we're talking about. So yeah, I've got a few bits to tell you afterwards, but let's not keep you waiting any longer. Here we have Humboldt Lycanthrope. Hi, so it's Simon for Insert Past Pun here, and today I'm here with Humboldt Lycanthrope. Say hello.
Hello.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for coming on. I'd say I really do appreciate it. I'd say I don't know if you're aware, but we discussed, was it one of your stories at the long list with Shadow Son of 77? And I'd say once I'd read that, I just really wanted to get you on. So thanks a lot for making the time to come on. I really appreciate it. So let's kick it off. So tell us a bit about yourself then.
Well, I live deep in the forest in Northern California with my wife and two children on a 40-acre homestead. And I love to write horror. I've got a novel that just came out about 2 months ago. It's doing quite well, getting lots of good reviews. It's called Kind Nepenthe, a savage tale of terror set in the heart of California's marijuana country.
Nice.
Check it out.
I'm already sold. I like that. So how long have you been writing for?
I've been writing all my life, ever since I was a little kid.
Nice. What's the
horror too? Love it.
Nice. What's the first thing you can remember writing?
Oh gosh. Well, I remember making little picture books of cowboys with my mom, and then I think in like the first grade, I earnestly started writing a detective novel. Didn't go far.
Awesome. I love it. So when did you first start writing horror? Was that have you always been doing that, or?
Right from the get-go.
Nice. And what's your favourite sort of horror to write? I think from the stuff I've read of yours so far, I get a really like noir feel from a lot of it. Is that what you like to go for, or is that a?
Well, I'm really into literary horror, to be honest. I see all kinds of things as horror that other people don't. I consider, Blood Meridian horror, American Psycho horror, Lord of the Flies. I consider that a horror book. So I'm really into the literary aspects of it. But my taste generally gravitate to extreme horror, transgressive, things that cross boundaries, that, shock, I guess. But I love it all. I love neo-noir. I love slipstream. Transgressive, like I said. Horror in general. It's all good to me. Splatterpunk.
Brilliant. So what writers or what generally do you sort of take your inspiration from? Where is it that you sort of that you draw your style from?
I like to think I draw my style from a wide range of writers. Bret Easton Ellis is a huge impact on me, but so does Steinbeck. I mean, Steinbeck I adore. I think he really exemplifies Americana. And his stories are really devastating if you read them. I mean, Of Mice and Men, The Red Pony, Grapes of Wrath. These are intense stories, I like Chuck Palahniuk. I'm really into the Beats. Love Jack Kerouac. William Burroughs. I mean, talk about transgressive and crazy.
Yeah.
All over. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. So, and say, is there any sort of where does it like to draw your inspiration from in terms of just sort of like where do you get your ideas for your stories from?
From me in my life, and I've been involved in like crazy stuff. I was into hardcore punk rock, and then toured around with the Grateful Dead, and like was part of the like Back to the Earth hippie scene, and then all kinds of crazy shit that I like to put into my work. Cultural references, like these subcultures,
Nice. Really been there and done it, and that's impressive. Like,
Yeah.
and that actually makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about the story you sent over then, which was it? Oh, I've had it up and now I've brought it down. So it's Under a Rotting Sky. Um, Now, for the people listening, as always, I'm going to post a link to this in the description. So I'd highly suggest you read this. I really, really enjoyed this story, and yeah, so I highly suggest you read it because we're going to talk about it fairly in depth. So yeah, and as well for you, it's like as spoilery as you like. So give us an overview of this story then.
Well, this is a story about a gutter punk squatter, and he meets this beautiful punk rock girl, and they fall deeply in love, and she basically breaks his heart because she's a very troubled soul, young, and he's devastated by this loss, and tragic events follow.
Nice, and then. I mean, obviously you said earlier that you were quite into sort of the punk scene and stuff. Is a lot of this taken from like your own experiences to a degree?
Yeah, to a degree, absolutely. Yeah, I actually had a very beautiful punk rock girl who I pretty much describe in the story. Raped, kind of disturbed, and she broke my heart. And I do have a homemade black heart tattoo as well.
Oh, nice. Right, you've definitely established you're way more hardcore than I am. I was the most I got was doing drugs in clubs in the early 2000s. That's nowhere near as cool. But, so, sorry, you go for it.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, sorry, dude. No worries.
Drugs and clubs is fun.
It's all right. It's all right. I was a big fan back in the day, but. So what I really got from this, and as I said before, the other story I've read of yours beforehand, like you've really got a way of sort of it's the description that really gets to me. I think. Well, there's a line point in the beginning of like you're up onto a world of filth, piss, and blood beneath a rotting sky. Just what is it that sort of makes you want to write that? What is it that gets? Because I'm awful with this sort of metaphor. I can't do it. I'm really bad. So like, where is it that you get this sort of stuff from?
Well, I read a lot, and I'm always studying how other authors use words, and I love wordplay, love puns, love jokes. I mean, jokes are magic.
Yeah.
They make you laugh with words, and just wordplay in general is a magical thing, and I just adore it. And like I said, I think it's really my love of reading. I'm constantly saying, what is this author doing? And how are they trying to convey it? And what words are they using? And what words are they using in weird, odd ways that you wouldn't think they would use them? And how are these words connected now different and more powerful and more visceral?
No, so you're in.
So it's just really a love of words.
It's kind of like the mechanics of it, almost the sort of the almost the nuts and bolts of how a sentence is put together.
There's that, and there's the sum of the parts is greater than the parts themselves. You know, it's something, like I said, magical happens.
That's it, definitely, and it just really. I say just with so few words, it really paints a picture, and really sort of like gets you. Because all the way through this story, you do a really good job of sort of getting across the sort of the griminess of the whole thing. Of like how sort of like dirty and well, as I say, filthy the whole sort of way they're living is, and I mean it really got me, and especially again, I hope you don't mind. How against spoilers are you? I can talk about the ending if you want, but I don't want to if you don't want to.
No, I don't mind.
Oh, sweet. So yeah, well, especially when because obviously the punk girl then leaves and. Like starts going to a Catholic school and living with her dad again and all of this, and the sort of the juxtaposition of it, the way you've got the sort of because when your main character, the sort of the gutter punk, sees her again and she's clean and she's sort of like got her life together and stuff, and I really enjoy. Well, it's the way that it kind of I don't know, almost the disbelief that he has that this person who he thought was that possibly still is so broken, but is somehow managing to hide it in ways that he never could. And I say, just were you? I suppose the extended way I'm getting round to the question is, it's this. Were you sort of in that sort of? I know you said you're in the sort of punk scene. Did you? Were you like in a squat? Is that all? Is that all taken from like real life?
Oh yeah, I've hung out in a couple of squats here and there. I was never really too involved in the squat movement. It's kind of a big thing, but a lot of my friends are. But a couple squats, yeah.
Oh, cool.
The thing is, she scarred him, literally scarred him. You know what I mean? He's got this mark right on his head by her.
Yeah.
So he can't ever go back. Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And so with this story, and where did you start? Where was the did you have the ending in mind to start with, or because I know this was part of a song contest, wasn't it? Well, the song contest from the Cool. And so you what was the song was the Under the Rotting Sky by, I'm having a look on this thing now. Carnate, is that it?
Yeah, something like that, I guess. Yeah, I wasn't really familiar with the song, to be honest, when they gave it to me. But I like the song. It's a good song.
Nice. And so what was it about that song that sort of got you to this story then, basically?
Oh, he talks about pretty face, right, and wrapping his fingers around her neck and her face turning blue. I believe, I haven't listened to the song in a while, actually, but I believe those were some of the lyrics. And it had a punk feel to it,
Sweet, no, that's really cool.
Oh, I guess right?
So you did that a bit there. What were you saying?
Oh, it's a grimy song, It's an intense, dirty sounding song.
Nice, definitely. And so when you were writing, were there any points where you sort of got stuck with it, or was this all quite a smooth process writing this one?
This one was nice. It was organic. It flowed really nice. It just came right out.
Nice.
The girl was originally going to be a skinhead. It was going to beat him up, I think, but that changed. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. So when you do get stuck when you're writing, do you have any ways that you try and overcome roadblocks, things like that? Have you got any techniques for getting past any issues that you might have whilst you're writing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Research. I can just put on a documentary about the subject I'm writing about. And ideas will start coming, and the next thing I know, I'm pausing it and hitting the keyboard, and other types of research, searching online for things and reading. It all comes down to reading.
Yeah.
But and even movies that have the same theme or have the similar topics, you can watch them, and maybe a subtle detail in the background will inspire you.
Nice. And so obviously with this story, because it was written a little while ago, I think, wasn't it? Is there anything you sort of looking back on it that you changed about it now?
Not that I can think of,
No, that's fair enough. And so I'm quite similar in that once I've finished the story, I'm not going back to it. I know people who edit and rewrite over and over again, and I just can't manage it. Once it's done, it's done. Right, so in which case, just while we're talking about your writing, tell me a bit about the book that you've got out at the moment.
Oh, I have Kind Nepenthe. It's about this single mother with a 5-year-old girl. She's a hippie who works in a co-op in San Diego, and her boyfriend Colangelo wants her to move up far, far out into the hills, away from electricity and cell phone range, onto this pot farm where they have this indoor marijuana operation running, and while the owner goes away, and she's all organic, and she's vegetarian, and she gets up there, and this grow is running on a diesel generator. The diesel's leaking and getting everywhere. It's coughing out, smog, and it's run on chemical fertilizers with chemical pesticides, and she just kind of hates the whole scene, but she wants to be in the woods. She wants to teach her daughter about how to live in the woods. But it's the middle of winter, and in Northern California, it pours rain in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
So instead of romping through the forest in this idyllic hippie fashion that she had envisioned, she's stuck more or less inside in the pouring rain, and the place is haunted. It's haunted by a little boy it was a hippie commune before, like in the 70s,
Right.
and this little boy had drowned. The mother was high on acid when she found him and lost her mind. And he haunts the place, and he's kind of a symbol of how, especially with like hippies, they get really idealistic, but in a selfish, personal way. They're always thinking about their own personal gratification, their own personal enlightenment, and they kind of a lot of times let the children just slide by, slip out of their fingers. So there's a theme running through that represents of people selfishly searching for like good causes, but in that search for goodness, they're neglectful and almost turning bad. She's forgetting her daughter, and meanwhile her boyfriend Calendula is taking over this park and is slowly losing his mind. And there's another ghost who's an old biker, and he's a tweaker ghost, doing speed in the back. But meanwhile, their neighbor is a meth dealing redneck who the owner of the Pacro owes money to, and he wants his money. And these two stories become entwined. There's a little bit of crime genre thrown in there, and it all spirals out of control and total madness. In the end, it's just full-on craziness.
Awesome. Best way for anything to be. Like, and so, what was it that made you wanted to take that extra step to go into to do like a full length novel? Because I've spoken to a few people who like to who've say just published not books of like collections of their own stories or collections of theirs and other people's stories. What made you want to go the full way?
I've always wanted to be a novel writer, and I'll be honest, I've tried a couple of times, and it's not the easiest thing to do. I've started maybe 4 different novels. This is the first one that I really completed, really edited, and I was happy with. I wasn't happy with the other ones. And they say that. They say your first couple of novels, it's more an exercise. You're not really going to get it published. You're just learning. But it's much more complicated than a short story. You have all these different storylines, all these different characters, and you're trying to build it. You would build a house on a foundation, then the walls come up, and then the roof comes up, and then you have these character arc, and then you have to have an ending that says something, and where everything is a climax and everything's to be resolved. So I've always been working on another one right now, a punk rock one.
Oh, nice. Nice. That's really cool. And that's out at the moment, isn't it? Is that on? Have you got that is that available on paperback, Amazon, ebook, that sort of thing? I'm guessing.
Yes, it was published by Black Rose Writing, and they've got it out on ebook. It's on Amazon. You can get it from the Black Rose Writing website. It's on Barnes and Nobles. It's all over.
Oh, nice. And how long did how long did the whole process take you from like start to finish on that one?
From really starting to finishing, 2 years. I wrote it, then I rewrote the entire thing, and then I edited it. It took a while.
Nice.
I'm pretty happy with the state it got.
Oh, no,
the word count went way up, way up, way down, all around, going back and forth.
Oh, brilliant. No, that sounds good. I'm going to have to check that out. If I've got it on my list, on my wish list on Amazon, so I'm going to hopefully be getting a copy of that one to get paid. It's going to be great. So
it's going to be 99 cents on October 10th.
Ooh, I can't resist a bargain. That sounds amazing. Cool. Well, I think I've put it off for long enough. So let's talk about the other story you sent over to me. This one, interview with a Nullo, which you said was taken down from was it actually submitted to the Creepypasta wiki, but got taken down for being too extreme. You said, is that right?
That's right. It was introduced to me on the Creepypasta wiki, and it was kind of like this secret that everyone kind of knew about, and they turned me on to it. And it's kind of a hush-hush story. But eventually, someone found out about it, and it got took down. But I mean, it's well written. It's not like a terrible creepypasta or anything. It's an interview, you know. But I mean, I thought it was brilliant. You know, it's this love story, and it's just so dark, and it's about sacrifice and what you would sacrifice, and how sometimes when you're in love, you're forced to sacrifice things that you don't want to sacrifice, and you know, it's
well, exactly, and again, like with the, I mean, I've said it before about other things, but like it swings so definitely between sort of such matter of fact gore and sort of like and quite over the top stuff, you know what I mean, and in such a subtle way that I said that it just seems every time it just seems to catch you unawares, like as to how grim it's going to be. As I say again to people listening, this link in the description, check it out. It's a read. As I say, it stunned me into silence for quite a while. so
too bad the format is all messed up there.
Yeah, that's
you know. When it was on the wiki, it looked nicer.
That's it, but yeah, but I don't know, I can live with a question mark instead of an apostrophe here and there.
Yeah.
So what is it about? Why do you like this one, sort of in comparison to sort of? What is it that made you want to send this one over?
Well, it's intense, and you know, it's not little kid stuff. They're not playing around, and the themes are all there. It's an adult theme story, and like I said, I consider it a love story, and which, you know, most creepypastas don't involve love, and it's just wow. And what is a creepypasta? It's something that you cut and paste, right? And you send your friends. I mean, this is the ultimate example. Like, dude, you got to read this. Like, holy moly, you know, like, and you pass it around and.
Exactly. Because because as you say, I mean, the link you've got is actually on a bodybuilding forum of all places. So it's just it's definitely one that's made its way around. So what in your opinion, what works well in this story then? What is it? What does it do well?
Well, it's told in an interview fashion, which I guess you could call epistolary. I thought it worked well in that manner because it grounded it, made it seem more realistic than if it was just told in first person. I mean, in like a first person narrative. And like you said, it keeps catching you off guard, and you keep thinking, well, this can't get any worse, you know, and it slowly builds up, and then that climax in the basement, and then it's just like they brought it there. They made it way worse. It's gone the full level of insanity, and
that's it. Yeah.
And then the last line was just beautiful. You know? That denouncement of the ending. He was forced, but in the end he's happy, and he's just kind of like, well, these are the things you do when you're in love, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just,
yeah.
And it's just so matter of fact. It's like, yeah, well, of course I did this in the end, and it's. I say I really like the story. It's one I immediately had to post up on my to some of my other horror friends, just to be like, you guys need to read this. You need to read this now. So I'm probably on some list somewhere now, but still, I probably was already. So,
why does everyone who reads my work say that? For the work I recommend.
That's it. No, it was awesome. So I mean, in terms of this story, I mean, obviously it's enormous. I mean, what is it that you take from this story that you kind of try and work into your own stuff?
Well, I like to transgress, and I think it's good to transgress. People need their boundaries pushed. People need to like see other points of view, and people need to be shocked sometimes. But you don't want to do it in a gratuitous or exploitive manner. You want it to be realistic. You want it to be say something. You want it to be something deep. Say something about the human condition and our shared humanity, and what it means to be alive in this existence, in this plane of reality. And so I thought it achieved that. It wasn't just shocking. It had a reason for where it was going, and you know, it told a story.
Well, exactly, and I think it took the sort of a feeling that everyone's had in terms of, like, you know, love, for instance, and just turns it up to 11. Just sort of is like, this is what, you know, you take that feeling you've got and take it to the nth degree, and this is the story you end up with.
Yeah, I like to think that my story, Under a Rotting Sky, kind of does the same thing.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Well, so, I mean, with your story as well, I mean, I particularly enjoyed the fact that because almost the brass tacks of the story, the sort of someone living the same moment over and over again has been sort of used in other stories, but it's like you just done it really effectively in a way that sort of like, even though you say at the beginning this is what is happening, still you want to you just go through it all. And I mean, I read it a couple of times, so I was like, yeah, just to really get the feel for it. It was great.
Yeah, that is a creepypasta trope that I got. I actually got that from creepypasta. What's that? The strangest convenience store video.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know that
yeah,
one?
yeah, I know.
And like this, yeah. So I'd seen it before, and I was like, oh, since it's a creepypasta, I'm gonna throw a time loop into this guy. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I really enjoy. I really enjoy time loop, which sort of brings me on to sort of the sort of creepypasta in general. Then, so I mean, we mentioned tropes there. I mean, do you think that? I mean, some people are quite have quite strong feelings towards tropes. Do you think that? Do you like tropes? Do you not like tropes? Can they be made to work? What are your opinions on them?
Well, they can absolutely be made to work. I mean, there's no question that they can be made to work. There's a website with horror tropes, and I'd have to look for it. Maybe I can put a link up to it later. I mean, there's literally thousands of them, and there's ones that you haven't thought of that you're like, oh, wait, that is a trope. I mean, it's unbelievable. And pretty much, I mean, when something gets done, it becomes a trope. You know, like almost everything is a trope. We're standing on the shoulders of tropes before us. You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, do you think that? I mean, in what ways can like tropes sort of like hamper the story? Do you think?
Well, if someone starts reading it and they're like, "This is stereotypical. This is cliche,"
Yeah.
they're not going to like it. They're going to put it down.
Yeah.
They're going to stop reading. But if you can make it your own, if you can make it personal, and if you can make it say something and make it mean something, you know, and talk about what humanity, then it's working. You know, I mean, that's the goal of a writer is to express what it is to be here and our emotions and our interactions. And if you use a trope to achieve that, then good on you. But if you use trope just for trope's sake, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So like in your opinion, what makes a good creepypasta? What's sort of going to lure you in with someone else's writing?
Well, you know, I mean, the original creepypastas were these really short things that were oftentimes about the internet or about old television shows that didn't exist, or you know what I mean, and they were short and they were fun. But I think it's changed a lot. It's not like that anymore, and now it seems to be more like amateur horror writers trying to get a foothold, trying to find an audience, reaching out for feedback. And so I really like that's where I came in at. I didn't really try to write creepypasta tropes. I was just had met all these other creepypasta authors like Shadow Swimmer and Mike McD, Banning, and MP Real and Effective. And I was like, these guys are just like horror writers that are you know, have this audience and are trying to get out there, and I joined in. So I'm not really like a classic creepypasta writer. It's more like classic horror for me.
No, so I know that most, if not all, of your stories are on the wiki. I mean, do you exclusively post to the wiki, or do you go to any other sites?
Oh no, I actually haven't posted to the wiki in quite a while. What happened to me is I started getting paid for my stories, and once someone gives you a little bit of money, you don't look back, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So now it was a great launching base, and you know, and I love it there, and I love the people there. I'm holding a werewolf contest there right now, so I'm still an active member. But I'm really trying to find paying markets and bigger markets for my work right now. But I might throw a couple out there for some people, you know, just to be cool and all.
That's cool. So, I mean, what was it that drew you towards the creepypasta wiki as opposed to, say, like No Sleep or one of the other sort of horror sites out there?
Oh, No Sleep is just, I don't like this always first person. You have to pretend it's real. Like in the comments, you can't talk about the actual nuts and bolts of the story. You have to pretend it's real. And like the titles, like, you know, like, I don't know, I was a sex slave at a toll booth, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't really like the No Sleep. It's just too much, and it's too silly, and it doesn't address literature and horror literature. And the wiki is an awesome community. everyone there is really friendly, really nice, really supportive. We all read each other's work, we promote each other, we help each other, it's if you're a beginning writer, it's a great place to go and get feedback and meet other writers and talk about books, talk about movies. I'm always on there talking about horror movies and stuff.
Nice.
It's just fun.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, because I've been posting through for a little while, but I've only sort of just become sort of through this podcast sort of become sort of like an active, chatting to people on there. And I say everyone I've spoken to on there has actually been really, really nice and really supportive, and I've actually quite enjoyed the scene that they've got there. Because Reddit especially seems to be, it can be quite anonymous. I think like people just like to have their burner accounts or whatever, put up a story and then that's it. But we've talked about what was it that you don't like in creepypastas then? What was it that's most likely to put you off a story? What's gonna ruin it for you?
Those damn tropes we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, if another haunted video game story, I mean, it better be damn good. Like it's just been done to death. Another haunted Facebook story. I wrote one. Yeah, I can't. But just all these things that have been done to death. I'm looking for originality.
Yeah. Nice. And do you think like having an original story can overcome it if you're not as good a writer, but do you see what I mean? Sort of like if you can get away with some technical issues as long as your idea is good.
It's an amateur site. It's for amateurs. So yeah, definitely.
Nice. So in terms of the scene in general, especially when because it's gaining a lot of traction in the mainstream recently. Horror's becoming really big again. What do you think? Yeah, I know, right? So what do you think of the scene at the moment? How do you see it going? Like what do you like about it? Is there anything you don't like about the scene at the moment?
Oh, I got on board when that whole Slenderman thing was really big, the Slender Man, and it was huge then. I mean, it's nothing like it was then. I mean, but obviously a bunch of those people were like children, I guess, which is kind of weird. I don't really want children reading my stories, but it was just you would put up a blog post and it was nothing to get 100 comments in a couple hours, and it's really quiet now. There's only a few really active members, but it feels like it might be getting popular again. Well, when I've been there recently, I've been noticing that there's a lot of new members, and they're all reading all the stories, and they're all talking about it amongst themselves. So maybe there's this wave effect. I don't think it'll ever be as big as when Slenderman first came out. That was just a monstrous tidal wave.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's some drama that goes on over there, and it's kind of silly. I see people that are arguing about they're arguing about like this Candle Cove, right?
Yeah,
it's like the oldest creepypasta. They're arguing about it like they're talking about whether Shakespeare existed or not. Like there was such passion. I mean, I've got an English degree. I've never seen people talk about these stories like getting so angry and riled up, and you're like, wow, over like a story that was passed around for free on the internet. It's just, I wish people would let their drama go and be a little more just chiller. But that's not for the most part. That's, when it happens, it seems big, but if you really look at it, it's a very small part of the community.
No, that's fair enough. And in terms of sort of, because it's also sort of being quite big on YouTube, obviously with narrations, things like that. What are your opinions on that sort of side of it?
I'm amazed by that. I don't know. That is a phenomenon that is just amazing. And I go and I look, and like 85,000 people have listened to one of my stories. I'm just like, wow. It's amazing. I think that's probably where it's at right now, is the narrations, and people who like to just kick back and hear a horror story on YouTube. There's literally millions of them. It's nuts, and I think that's really where the future is and where it's at right now.
Nice, yeah. So, do you think it's going to be around forever? Do you think, or do you think it's going to die one day? Like, I mean, where do you see it going from here?
I don't see it dying. I mean, people say that about all things. I mean, I guess it could probably get real small and then come back up. I don't think it'll ever be what it was when it first happened and it had that big effect. But People said the beatniks were going to die out, and there's still people acting like beats. People said the hippies are over, and there's still people acting like hippies, and people said punk is over, and people have said horror is over. People have said splatterpunk is over. People said noir is over, and it keeps coming back, and I think there'll always be creepypastas.
Nice. So, I mean, in which case, I mean, on that note, sort of, it comes to my last question. Really, is sort of if you've got someone who's sort of just sitting down at their computer now, who's thinking, I want to start writing a story. What advice would you give them? What do you wish you'd known when you started writing?
Writing creepypastas or writing in general?
Oh, writing. Well, either, both.
Well, writing in general is give your protagonist a want and a desire. That's the main thing. You got to just write it down. What does your character want? Now, what are the obstacles that they face? Now, what do they learn when they hit those obstacles? That's what a story is.
Nice. And in terms of sort of like writing online horror, well, what advice would you give someone doing that? What should they avoid? What should they go for?
Shit, I don't know, man. Don't just read creepypastas. Read other stuff.
Yeah. That's fair enough. No worries. Well, I mean, that was my last question. So I really appreciate your time. And thanks for talking to me. That's been really interesting. What I usually do is just the last few minutes. If there's anything you want to plug, where can people find you? Now's your time to do your adverts.
Sure. Well, my website is www.matthewbrockmeyer. That's MatthewBrockmeyer.com. My Facebook page is Matthew Brockmeyer, the Humboldt Lycanthrope. You could probably just find it by typing Humboldt Lycanthrope in there. And there's a D in Humboldt, HUMBOLDT. I've got an Amazon page, Matthew Brockmeyer. Just write Amazon Matthew Brockmeyer. You get my Amazon page. There's lots of anthologies and magazines I've been in. Well, not lots, but a few. And my novel's there, Kind Nepenthe. And I'm on Goodreads. Let's be friends on Goodreads. Matthew Brockmeyer. Yeah, read my novel, Kind Nepenthe, everybody. It's getting good reviews. People like.
Nice. Cool. Well, I'd say thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. If you ever want to come on again and plug some more stuff, you're more than welcome to.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
No, me too. Thanks a lot. So there you go. My interview with Humboldt Lycanthrope. I can't recommend enough that you go and check out his stuff and obviously have a look at his novel Kind Nepenthe. It is cracking. So I said at the beginning that I had some new stuff to tell you. First of all, we are now on iTunes. In fact, as this goes out, I'll probably be frantically uploading old episodes to iTunes for you all to have a look. So please go on there, subscribe to us, rate us, leave any comments you want. As I say, I'll thrive on comments, and even if they're bad, I'll do my best to take them on board and try and get it sorted. The other thing I wanted to say is that I am planning on adding a new element to this podcast where me and possibly the people I interview or some friends of mine will be helping people who are stuck with stories. So if any of you guys have any stories that you're having any issues with, that you're stuck with, and you want to send them over to me, feel free to send them over on insert past upon here at gmail.com, or on the facebook.com/insert past upon here, or of course go over to the website insertpastuponhere.com. Send them over. We won't be mean, we won't be nasty, we'll do our best to help you out, and as I say, maybe we can help some people out with their stories. Anyway, that's it from me. I'm sure you're sick of my voice by now, so I'll see you guys again next time.